If there's anything that you should take away from what happened this weekend, it is that you, as a consumer, have way more power than you might have realized. It's been a long time since I saw such a giant mandate from a giant company get walked back this quickly because of the insane pushback they got from their consumers, and I am so proud of us as consumers. I've been talking for years about the open marketplace and consumer rights and the whole console versus PC thing, and the way that those consumer rights and consumer pushback fit into that debate. I've been talking about this stuff for years. I don't think there has ever been such a perfect example, at least in my time on YouTube, of all of this in action. And I think this is the biggest example since the Games for Windows Live fiasco. So as a quick recap, so we're all on the same page, I'll give you guys the shortened play-by-play of what actually went down here, in case you're watching this at some point in the future, or in case you live under a large rock and completely missed all of this. So on Friday, May 3rd, it was announced by Sony that Helldivers 2 would now require mandatory PSN account linking for the PC version. Now, this was going to be in the game from the start, but as the tale goes, it wasn't working properly at launch, and also the devs have been pretty open about the fact they didn't actually want it in there, so instead of having it be broken at launch, they disabled the PSN account linking at launch, and then just had no hustle putting it back into the game because they knew that nobody would want it. But on May 3rd, Sony came down with the hammer and demanded that the PSN accounts come back into the game, basically just so they can pad their PSN stats before the next financial call. And the reason this caused a lot of problems is not just because a lot of PC gamers don't want a PSN account and don't want a mandatory PSN account for a game they had already been playing for 3 months with no issue. Aside from the fact that a lot of PC gamers don't have a positive opinion of Sony due to their handling of PC ports, due to all of their security breaches, that's one issue on its own. There's also the issue that PC gamers are just sick and tired of having to sync third-party accounts to play games on Steam. It's just exhausting. We're tired of it. We've been doing it for years. We don't want another one. But the biggest issue here is the fact that Helldivers 2 was available in way more countries than PSN was supported because PSN was disabled and because it was available on Steam. This meant that after the mandatory PSN account, after that update would be rolled out, a lot of countries would lose access to the game. So that was on Friday morning. The Steam user scores started taking a massive hit. It was a huge controversy. The devs started speaking out about how little power they actually had in this situation. And then the next day, Saturday, May the 4th, Steam starts issuing refunds regardless of playtime, which is insane. And in response to all the controversy, Sony, who had the perfect opportunity to just roll this back and be like, oops, sorry, our bad, we won't do that. Instead, on Saturday, they pull the game from sale from something like 177 countries, seemingly signifying that Sony is just choosing to double down on PSN integration instead of backing off about it. Again, basically just so they could brag about the monthly active users in their next financial report, and hammering home that they really don't care about the regions of the world that don't have PSN, even if those regions of the world were giving them money for the game and the microtransactions. If they can't add those regions to the PSN active users, then just fuck them, I guess. And through all of this, the devs on Discord are openly encouraging negative reviews and refunds because it gives them more ammo against Sony to make them back off of this. Sunday, May 5th rolls around, the game drops out of the Steam top 10 most played for the first time since launch, as far as I can tell, and the last real update that we got was this on Sunday afternoon. This was the last real update from the developers that we got until 10 p.m. on Sunday, Sony announces that they are not going forward with the update. After 3 days of massive backlash, Sony, one of the most influential companies in gaming, backs off of the mandatory PSN account linking, and you bet your fat bahookie they are going to think twice before doing anything like this on the PC ever again. Now, throughout all of this, there were a lot of PlayStation fanboys defending Sony and defending this move, defending the PSN account linking, just missing the point of the PSN account linking. I don't really want to talk about that because everyone has already talked about that. I was busy this weekend and I couldn't talk about that. But what I do want to talk about, and you guys come to this channel for the console fanboy salt, that's what we're all here for, but there's one angle of fanboy salt that I want to talk about specifically in this video, and that is this: What happened over the weekend, just to reiterate, was a massive, massive W for the consumer. It reiterated how much power we as consumers have. If you ever wonder what oh man, what would happen if all the consumers just bonded together and said we don't want this thing? This is what happens. That thing goes away. If you cut off the money stream from this company, the company must adapt to what you want. That is the beauty of the open market. You either respect your consumer or you get the fuck out of the way and make room for someone who will. And Sony is quickly fucking around and finding out when it comes to what will fly on the PC. They keep trying to push these kinds of things. They keep trying to push console-centric business strategies on the PC, and it's just not working. PC gamers aren't going to just roll over for $70 games. PC gamers aren't going to just roll over for mandatory third-party account linking for a game that didn't have it before. And PC gamers are absolutely going to stick up for other PC gamers in other regions of the world who are getting fucked over by Sony's desire to pad their PSN stats. And even though Sony backtracked on this decision, I really think this is going to have a really negative influence on the sales of Ghost of Tsushima later this month. I think there are a lot of people who are now thinking twice about buying that game. I know I am. I was planning on buying Ghost of Tsushima, assuming the port was good, but now I don't know if I want to give you guys money anymore. I was already on the fence about giving Sony any kind of money, but after this, I'm thinking twice, and I know I'm not the only one who's thinking twice, regardless of how much I want to play Ghost of Tsushima. But going back to the salt that I want to talk about today is the salt that came after this announcement, not leading up to this announcement that Sony was rolling it back. I want to focus on the salt that came after. Because while most of the internet was unified about this, and most of the internet was celebrating when Sony posted this update, there were a lot of PlayStation-centric people who were legitimately upset about this. And I just want to poke fun at you people, because you are looking at an example of how much power you have as a consumer. And instead of being like, man, that's inspiring, or like, man, I wonder what the PlayStation community can do if we all band together the way the PC community did, instead of doing that, you got upset that Sony wasn't able to get away with the scummy thing. And I'm gonna make fun of you, because that's pathetic. So come along with me, dear viewer, as we take a look at some people who somehow thought it was a bad thing that consumers stood up to Sony and put them in their place, and in the process, encouraged everyone to exercise their rights as consumers. Apparently that's a bad thing now. Don't believe me? Well, strap in. Odd AI says, one thing this Helldivers drama proved, though, is how unreliable the PC market is. You can have a success, and one day they can find a BS excuse to mass refund your game, even after spending 200 hours in it, and you lose all the money you made. It's like investing in meme coins. Yes, the PC market is unreliable. Unreliable, the PC market is. I don't think this is so much the PC market being unreliable as much as it is the PC market being unwilling to tolerate the kind of nonsense you tolerate on the console. When Sony owns the market, like on the PlayStation, or when Sony has massive influence on the market, like in the console market, because there's only 2 or 3 companies really influencing that market when you get down to it, Sony can basically do whatever they want, which is why they constantly take advantage of you. It's why you are charged to play your games online. It's why you are charged $70 for new games basically across the board. It's why your experience is curated by a bunch of people in suits. The PC market is all about openness. It is all about customization. It is all about consumers having the freedom to do whatever they want, basically. They can mod the game, they can edit the game, they can buy games from any place they want. There are indie developers who can put basically any game they want on the internet for anyone who wants to play it to download and play it. And when Sony comes in and tries to force this kind of stuff on the PC market, it shouldn't be surprising that it gets met the same way that Games for Windows Live was. Sony trying to force PSN on a game that had been for sale for 3 months and was, for all intents and purposes, was made popular because of the PC market. This game was was being bought and played way more by PC players than console players. The fact that they tried to pull this, and I know this policy was there from the start, but it's not just the fact that they were putting in the PSN accounts 3 months after launch. It's also the fact that they then doubled down and removed the game from 170 plus countries who had already bought it. Because again, Sony cares more about how many numbers there are on the PSN active users than the amount of revenue that other countries can give them, or just giving the game to more countries for more fun. This was a scummy move no matter how you want to do it. This was at best Sony doing something in the worst way possible, and at worst Sony just being a piece of shit. And then the PC community, the Helldivers community all banded together and said, Sony, stop it. You're being an asshole. And then Sony had to back off and say, oh, we're being an asshole. You interpret that as the PC market being unreliable. The PC market did not roll over and accept this the way the console market frequently does, and you see that as the PC market being unreliable. No, this is the PC market having more respect for themselves than the console market, and you just can't handle that for some reason. M says, congratulations to the PC gamers on getting Sony to overturn their decision. Not gonna lie, didn't think you would do it, but you did. Like they always say, where there's a wine, there's a way. Because the game being removed from 170 plus countries, that's just PC gamers whining. PC gamers being forced to make an account for a service they don't want and contribute to the numbers of a company they don't trust. That's just whining. Why don't you give your account information to PlayStation? It just takes 2 minutes to make a PlayStation account. PlayStation routinely gets hacked. Yeah, just go ahead and link your Steam account to that PlayStation service though. I'm sure this time will be different. Sammy Barker says, time to go after every other publisher that requires an external login then, folks. Go on. I'm waiting. I love how many people were like, this is only a problem when Sony does it. PC gamers don't have a problem with third-party accounts. It's like, have you been paying attention? Have you been paying attention to how many games on Steam tried to link Epic Store accounts or tried to link Ubisoft accounts, and how much their sales have been hurt by that? If you go to basically any Ubisoft game on Steam, the user reviews will be taking a hit because it links with Uplay. I made a video not too long ago about how Dead Island 2 was basically sabotaged on Steam because it required linking to Epic, which PC gamers don't want. PC gamers fucking hate this shit. It's just been a long time since something like this happened on such a massive scale. It's not just that Sony tried to do third-party account linking at a time when PC gamers already have a historically low opinion of such things, but they tried to do it in the scummiest way possible, and in the process removed the game from almost 200 countries. I keep coming back to that. It's not just that they wanted you to make a PSN account, it's that they were going to kick you in the teeth if you didn't. Again, all of this being done at a time when PC gamers have been yelling at every other company to stop it. I just think it's funny how many people were like, you guys only care about this when it happens to PlayStation. It's like, we've been caring about this for years now. You just only now noticed because it was PlayStation. Like, the amount of projection here is insane. PC gamers always, literally always criticize third-party account linking, and you didn't notice because Sony wasn't involved. But now Sony tries to do third-party account linking and obviously gets pushback because that's what always happens, and now you're like, it's only a problem because Sony did it, isn't it? Like, you guys just hate Sony. No, you're just obsessed with Sony. Shut the fuck up. Hello, I'm interrupting this video to remind you that this channel is sponsored by 4D Gaming. If you would like a really nice mousepad, go to 4dgaming.com and use code Joe for a discount. This channel is also sponsored by Glitch Energy. It's basically G Fuel, but better, so go to Glitch Energy and use code Joe for a discount. Thank you for letting me interrupt your content. I'll let you keep watching it now. Styx is stoned. Damn. That's a good name. It says Helldivers needs to be free to play online for PlayStation if you're going to bend over backwards to accommodate PC players. No, it should be free to play online regardless. The fact that you pay for online alone is a scam. I love this. It's like, This is what I was saying at the beginning. It's like you're literally staring at evidence that you have power as a consumer. The PC gamers were like, no, we're not doing this. And Sony was like, okay, we won't make you do it. And now you're like, oh, well, if you're gonna bend over backwards for PC, then we should get to play this game for free. No, you should get to play every game for free, you dunce. You have power as a consumer. Take this as a point of influence, as a point of inspiration, rally the PlayStation troops, and get rid of PlayStation Plus. Like, how is this flying over your head? Like, you guys are bending over backwards to accommodate PC players. They would bend over backwards to accommodate you if you stuck up for yourself. Are you kidding me? Helldivers 2 should be free to play. All of them should be free to play. The fact that you pay to play online on PlayStation still is insanity. Fonz Gaming quote tweets the news and says, this is what happens when gamers speak up and show up. For those of you that kept defending Sony and acting like it was nothing, kindly sit the fuck down. But then at Lush Slippers responds and says, weak TBH. They should have announced that PC players had to pay for PlayStation Plus. You absolute corporate boot-licking doofus cake. So PC gamers all rally together and are like, hey, Sony is taking advantage of us and we're not going to stand for it. And then Sony actually caves to that. And in response, you're like, man, they should have taken more advantage. It's like, no, they shouldn't be taking advantage of anyone. This is the point that blows my mind. This is why this is the angle of salt that I wanted to look at for this video. It's like you should be taking this as proof that if the PlayStation guys, if you all rallied around a change that you want, you could get it done. All you have to do is the exact same thing the PC gamers did. But instead of rallying around getting rid of something that's taking advantage of you, you're like, man, PC gamers should also be taken advantage of in this way. Like, why is Sony entitled to your money? No one can answer that. PC gamers should have to pay for PlayStation Plus. Why? Genuinely, why? Why do you want that? Who benefits from that? Because it's not you. Game Boy TTV. Dude, it's not fucking 2017. Get rid of the TTV in your fucking name. He responds to the news. It says PlayStation is the GOAT for a reason. PlayStation is the GOAT because they reversed course on an objectively bad decision only 3 days after immense backlash. Sony's the GOAT because they took back something that they did. In what view is PlayStation the good guy here? This is like at the end of Pirates of the Caribbean 3, when Beckett is surrounded by the two ships, and instead of fighting back, he basically just lets himself die and accepts defeat. This is like if you were looking at that and you were like, man, Beckett is the GOAT. Like, what? Some teen Naz T1? Oh, some teen Naz T. Oh, you clever little boy. He says, again, patience would have been warranted. Instead, we got rabid grandstanders who just wanted to console war over a minor issue. The PC is not a console. This was not a console war. What are you talking about? The real question is, once they go through with the TOS linking of accounts, will all of you be prepared and make accounts without complaint? No, they're not going through with it. They're not going through with it because this is what happens if they try to. The consumers stuck up for themselves, and now the corporation can't take advantage of them in the way that they were planning to. You don't get it. You don't get it. Chase Berry says maybe now the crybabies will shut up. Right, you were a crybaby. If you paid for the game and then it was revoked from you because you lived in one of the no-go countries, yeah, you're just a crybaby. You doofus. Stop crying. Froggy says Steam should remove all the recent negative reviews for Helldivers 2. Review bombing is wrong and should be against the TOS. It's not a review bomb if it's a response to a thing that's happening. First of all, that's literally not what review bomb means. Second of all, removing the negative reviews as if this never happened is not what should happen. What should happen, and what is probably going to happen, and what is already happening at the time that I'm making this video, is people who went and made a negative review are likely going to go and change the review back to positive, because a lot of people had a positive review that they changed to negative, because Steam's review service is wonderful and allows for reviews to reflect the current state of the game. Steam should not remove negative reviews. What is this logic? PlayStation fixed their mistake. That doesn't mean the mistake was never made. James says, you're too nice, PlayStation. Some of us us wouldn't have been quite as nice, but I know Sony has bigger fish to fry at the moment. Paramount. So, because Sony is allegedly in talks to buy Paramount, that means that they backed off of Helldivers because they're being nice. No, I think you're stupid. Fudge Wild responded to the news and just said PC don't deserve PS exclusive games with a really shitty AI baby image. This is just low effort. I'm gonna move on. Unleashed, been a minute since you've been here, says now that Helldivers 2 drama is over, PC gamers can go back to what they do best. Bootlicking Gabe Newell. Just because Gabe Newell provides a service that allowed this to happen doesn't mean that we're bootlicking Gabe. It just means that Gabe isn't as stupid as the people running Sony. Like, you have so much power as a consumer, and so many of you don't even realize it. Like, all the people who are like, why is Sony doing this? Like, why is Sony trying to please the PC community so bad? Why are they making all these changes to accommodate the PC? It's like, you could do the exact same fucking thing. You could do the exact same thing the PC community did, and you're choosing not to. That's the part that gets me that's the part that really gets my gears going. That's the part that really burns my chicken. How many of you used to watch Minnesota Burns? I say stuff burns my chicken a lot. I never know if anyone actually gets the reference. But the thing that really just burns my chicken is the fact that so many people are like, why are you doing this for the PC? And the PCs are just whining, and you did this in response to PC whining. It's like, they could do this in response to you. You could make your platform better, but instead you are whining. Like, how do you not get this? You could have the same power as a consumer as the PC consumers demonstrated. In fact, you already have that power, and you're choosing not to use it. Why? What is the point? If you are not using your power as a consumer to make your platform better, to make your products better, and to make your voices heard, why are you even in this conversation? Ugh. God bless the PC market. God bless. Sony is going to be thinking twice about doing stuff like this in the future, and so is every other company who saw this, which is all of them. Every other company is going to be thinking twice before adding third-party account linking as a mandatory part of a PC game. Like, mark my words, I absolutely think this is going to be the catalyst for that trend dying on the PC, because nobody wants to be the next Helldivers 2, and that's a good thing. All right, toodles.